This evening here at Shan State Buddhist University, after the chanting and before meditation, I'd like to introduce you to compassion meditation. This is also for the sake of many people watching online. Compassion meditation is more or particularly relevant at this time in the world. We are facing the threat of a pandemic, coronavirus, the COVID-19. Everywhere, people feel, heightened anxiety, feeling, fear, because a lot of uncertainty about what's going on, and especially the spread of the virus. So many countries have closed their borders. They have grounded their planes, their airplanes, and they have stopped a lot of their transports, the train, the buses, and many people are advised in some cases. In many cases, people are instructed to stay at home. So all of a sudden, the word lockdown becomes very well known to every country. Because a lockdown or people staying at home is the only weapon that the world has at this point in time. The scientists are working non-stop at top universities, in top scientific centers throughout the world to find a remedy to this virus. But it will take a bit more time. So every day, through the social media, through the website, through radios and television, all we hear is the coronavirus, the number of fatalities, the number of infected people in different countries. This is all we hear. Of course, from time to time, we hear good news that in Korea, a 96 years old lady has recovered from the virus. But in other, there are many countries who have to make a choice who to treat. Meaning, it becomes a lottery system. It may not be fair to say a lottery system because they look at that scientifically who will have more quality of life and who will live longer So many factors the medics have to consider. This is to say, no single country is well prepared for this threat. This threat is universal, is frightening everyone. We have 7.4 billion, 7 billion and 400 million people in the world. We have lost over 20,000 people to this virus. This much is quite sufficient to frighten all of us. So at this point in time, what we should do, we can go into one of the two extremes. One is to ignore the seriousness of this threat. Like, it is true what I have read in the news, like the president of Brazil is talking. The president of Mexico is talking. The way they talk seems they don't take this threat seriously. Of course, the economic cost of a lockdown is enormous. No politician wants to risk his or her popularity and takes what they see unnecessary measure. But what we have learned in the last 3 months in the world, from China to Europe to everywhere in the world, is that it's very easy for this virus to spread and for people to get infected. And now fear has penetrated every heart and soul in every continent. So let me go back to the two extremes. One is to not take it seriously and to be complacent. But the other extreme is to be overwhelmed by fear, almost paralyzed, unable to make proper decision. Fear for many reasons. Parents, fear for the safety of their own health and also the future of their children. Business people fear about the impact of this pandemic on their business. And politicians fear how the public will react to their decision and the measure they take at the next election. In every country, it happens like this. And of course, the basic fear that we all have is that would the supply of food would the supply of food be interrupted, disrupted severely for many weeks and perhaps months? Would we be able to afford anymore? Or would there be the supply anymore? So, some of the worries are existential, but some of them are mind-made. is my mate. So here, for this evening, I'd like to invite all of you to join me to face this fear, to face this anxiety, this stress. I use 3 words: stress, anxiety, and fear. Stress because our normal way of life, that's for many people, normal way of life is interrupted. And this evening I'm going to be talking specifically about families. Well, interrupted, people will have to stay at home the whole day, the whole night. Not just for a day, not just for a weekend, for the whole week, not just for 1 week. In some country, a lockdown is declared for 3 weeks. In some country, it has been going on for more than a month, like that. So definitely, this is a stressful time. People are really stressed out. And the healthcare professionals, the doctors and nurses, and also the policemen, the public officials, the elected officers, they have to work harder than any other time in their life. So that's also stress, a big stress. With that stress, there are things that every country we feel we don't have enough. We don't have enough personal protection equipment, PPE, for the frontline doctors and nurses. Even the mask, that everybody is wearing is in short supply. And hand gel, to wash our hands. Everything we need it at the same time. The whole world needs it at the same time. So the world is not prepared for this. And what we can see here is that the whole world is interdependent. How we are so interdependent. Because we are so interdependent, it's not possible to rescue our own country alone without caring about our neighbors, without caring about the other continents. It's not possible. Coronavirus doesn't recognize the border, it doesn't recognize religion, it doesn't recognize gender, social status, powerful, less powerful. No, it doesn't recognize. Everybody becomes the same in the face of the COVID-19. Therefore, what we should be doing is to develop empathy. Empathy is about working with pain, about connecting with pain, connecting with anxiety. If we, here at Shan State Buddhist University, we follow social distancing strictly during communal meal time, during the chanting and meditation, and when we receive visitors. We have very few visitors these days because we encourage regular supporters to also take care of themselves by staying at home. Some people are very, very generous very kind. They still come and provide us with breakfast and lunch. But they come obviously in less numbers this day. This morning, only 2 people out of the association member out of 200 or so. And during lunchtime, only 4 people, like that. In that way, they take care of us, we also take care of them. So what we will be doing this evening is, after a few minutes of breathing in and out, settling with our breathing, developing mindfulness on breathing. We will look at our own anxiety. Anxiety when we think we have to wear a mask. Anxiety when we think we have to wash our hands, which we have to. Anxiety when we see people from outside. Anxiety, that kind of anxiety, we need to look at that. We need to look at that anxiety. If we are not aware of that, that anxiety will become fear. Fear, if it continues for many days, it can be paralyzing. So we look at that. We look at that. We observe the fear, breathing in and out. We recognize fear if there is, or if it's just anxiety, we look at that anxiety. If it's stress, we look at that stress. And then we need to look at, trying to relate to other members of our community and people at home, trying to relate to the anxiety of your family members, that everyone is anxious. Everyone is anxious, trying to relate to their anxiety. The anxiety is manifested sometimes in terms of short temper, being short temper, in arguments, in blaming. Stress can be manifested in that way. So during this time, during this meditation that you will be doing with me here for 20-30 minutes after breathing in and out now, you will be revisiting those moments of anxiety that you have gone through today, yesterday, the day before yesterday, maybe last week. Just trying to recognize that anxiety as anxiety. Do not put I into that anxiety. That this is anxiety. This is anxiety. And when you look at the anxiety of your family members, your community members, and just look at that anxiety. Of course, first you look at their face, look at their behavior, trying to listen to what they say, trying to recall what they have said. And then you just focus on the emotion, which is anxiety. Oh, that's anxiety. That's anxiety. Trying to focus on that. And move on to another one, another person. And after that, we try to relate to the anxiety of our neighbors. Our neighbors, physical neighbors. Of course, here at this university, you have many departments. You can relate to their anxiety, from the kitchen to the drivers, to the office staffs, to the librarians, to the teaching staff, to the students. You have many categories. You can try to relate to their anxiety, maybe their stress and fear. And when you do that, you should have an attitude, the right attitude, which is the attitude of the mother who has only one child. The mother who has only one child, her attention is total, is absolute, is given to her child. When her child is in pain, her attention is there. So when you focus on the pain of anxiety in our community members and for people who are following at home, the anxiety of your family members, your community members, you pay your attention, total attention, as if you pay attention to your only and one child. If there is disinterest, recognize that disinterest in someone's pain. But sometimes there are judgments. Why this person is more anxious, why this person is like this, like that, the mind usually judges like that. If that's the case, then try to observe the judgmental mind. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame other people who are anxious. Don't blame them for being in fear. Don't blame them for their stress. Instead, we're trying to develop empathy. That is to feel their pain. We are not running away from their pain, from our pain. No, that's not the way. In the first sermon, the Buddha says, Tanko panidang dukkhaṃ ariya saccang pariññeyam. Pain should be totally, completely understood, meaning we need to face the pain. This empathy is the road to compassion. Of course, tomorrow I will be expanding it, how empathy can become compassion. This evening we do empathy, just observe as many people's pain as possible. And you should also move to you should also focus on the pain of our neighboring countries, not just our own, but our neighboring countries, China, Thailand, Laos, India, Bangladesh, our immediate neighbors. Try to focus on their pain. From the news that you have learned, And then trying to go further to other countries in Europe, in America. Because all the news that you have read, the majority of them, they just bring pain, anxiety. And now is the time to make use of those worrying news to develop our inner strength, to connect with our inner strength. Okay, and to summarize, start with mindfulness of breathing, and then look at your own anxiety and fear. During the day, how many times you wash your hands because you had to do it very often. And also when you wear masks and when you implement social distancing. So the first is yourself. The second is your family members, your community members. The third one is the people in the same country but outside your community. And the last one is in other countries, the people in other countries, starting from our immediate neighbors to the whole world. Now I'll be switching to the Burmese medium. Just like to remind you to spend more time reflecting on the anxiety of your family members and your neighbors. That's the most important one. ဒီနေ့ကရုဏာကမ္မထာရဲ့အခြေခံအနေနဲ့ကိုချင်းစာစိတ်ကိုချင်းစာတရားပွားများဖို့လေတရားထိုင်တဲ့အနေနဲ့ရောသဘောတရားအနေနဲ့ရောဟောပြပါမယ်အခုကိုရိုနာဗိုင်းရပ်စ် COVID-19 အကပ်ရောဂါနဲ့တကမ္ဘာလုံးတွေ့ကြုံနေရတဲ့အချိန်မှာလူတိုင်းကစိုးရိမ်စိတ်တွေတောကစိတ်တွေနဲ့နေရယောဂပိုးကုသတဲ့နေရာမှာကိုနေတဲ့အရနာကိုရောက်လာပြီလားအဲ့ဒီလိုစိုးရိမ်စိတ်တွေလည်းဖြစ်အစားအသောက်တွေလူရဲ့ဝယ်တာမြင်တဲ့အခါကျတော့အစားအသောက်တွေရှိပါမလားဆိုင်တွေလည်းပိတ်ဈေးတွေလည်းပဲဟာလာဟင်းလေးတွေဖြစ်အဲ့ဒီလိုတွေဖြစ်ဆရာဝန်တွေသူနာပြုတွေလည်းပဲလူနာလေးများလာတဲ့အခါမှာတချို့ပုံမှန်ထိုင်နေတဲ့ဆေးခန်းတွေတိတ်ရေးမကြည့်လို့သူတို့ထင်တဲ့လူနာတွေကိုမတွေ့တော့ပိုရေးကြည့်တဲ့လူနာတွေကိုပိုဦးစားပေးဖို့အတွက်အဲ့ဒီလိုအပြောင်းလဲတွေရှိလာအဲ့ဒါတွေမကောက်ဘူးအပြစ်မသွားနိုင်အိမ်မှာပဲနေဆိုတော့နိုင်ငံတို့များနိုင်ငံအများစုပဲဆိုပါတော့အဲ့ဒီလိုပဲနေကြတဲ့အခါကျတော့အိမ်မှာတနေ့ကုန်တနေ့ကနေရတာကိုမိသားစုနဲ့ဆိုပေမဲ့ The Lawati and to do near a chinga. Shima Mashida to a low toilet go a low toilet. Adam Yuripsi. A Kujaro. The Nego. The Navy the Nay. The ain him up by the Luniana Gajaro. Sing it lying. The young and the young. A way to go a pity me lare. Sing it that come. Count at it, you know. The cannons one day, your nail. Go meet us who bought my eloped so yen. Go a Nina Jenko lebe. Eloped me that day. I'll wait to go through. Loaded Loya day. Said him a Magina Pido. A soul, me one had a pit. Sage and a sage pit. Through a jeep, we don't all that a pit. I looked at that. I look a computer, said a pure hope, Tijarama. To look at his Sayagajama. Karuna, Bovido Pite Boku de Leshina. Parilu ate, the bright and look handy. See Dhamma and I do see like way people. Nangan Yama, Aramurity. Also late a daily poil. Arality to ya. Time at Pitadaka, Egma went near a boku in a soya. Sing it up. Diao, Sakam Yan today. Diauka, Eman Navy or Lolo de Diauka. Eman Navy Lolo Sia Mishipu. Aramuri. I don't a judge low on this Uraka. Go neighbor time a mia beauty. But one needed Bone Sunday, a miaro, a massini, a being cannot try party. I don't need a little miaro. A man need the attendant let her. Mabina. The attendant Mabina, near Mabina. The choso yen. A nail on the bad the choso and Sally, the choso yen. And don't pat the choso in the la and little nangani. Didi. No child. Pomono nang labe and you. A man need a lockdown load there. Mimian lowly county pape. Dhamma, the Chanangani, the Kajigo Joe Dwana, a chama, go lebe, a yoga in Mishibe. A yoga in Genshin bit of 10 days and a need time you young. A little more hope and it. Cosima Temia also bit of ball below. A little low yin to Yanang and yoga in Piauken or a chama chama. Cozia Sabra Pay. Sibuai a change in Namare. A Nina Jam. Yoga Pillow. Drone Sassane. Sibuai, the Rosima low down low down. I'm at Jane now, baby. But to me, Sibuai Pyramid load a chamber. I change my Jama Koa. Lockdown low man, DPhil lockdown low my swing. Could now jar about to marry. Pyramid Sani, a cook, Teopima. Sibuai Pian Sapoto, I don't load me. I don't load me. I got to Yan at the Bini day. Pian I would wear swing. the 8 net day and labor madwabene till lockdown lockdown ko imabe ko nature ha ko ne ko loja baleme alo yin da tu mya ko saung chao ale yauk de ko saung chao ale yauk de take zivida dana ba be tanan long saung chao yauk de take ba lo me so ba saung chao yauk ba de aku ဝန်သားစရာကောင်းတာတော့ဟိုနယ်တွေမှာတောရွာတွေမှာအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုလုံနေကြတယ် loudspeaker တွေနဲ့လည်းပဲတောင်းရှိပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတလန်းဝင်တလန်းထွက်စောအော်တယ်တောရွာမှာလည်းဆိုရင်လည်းပဲအကျွေးမှုတွေတကြီးတွေချောင်းတိုင်းဆရာတော်တွေအဲ့ဒါဝိုင်းပြီးတော့လုပ်တဲ့ခါကျတော့မျောလင့်တာပေါ့နော်ဒီယောဂမကူဘူးကူမှမဟုတ်ဘူးကူတဲ့နေရာမှာလည်းပဲမြန်ဆန်ထိန်ချုပ်နိုင်လိမ့်မယ်လို့ဒီလိုမျောလင့်တာပေါ့အတိညာနဲ့ဆိုရင်တော့အတိညာနဲ့နောက်ပြီးတော့မေတ္တာစိတ်နဲ့လုပ်တဲ့ဆိုရင်တော့ဒီလိုပဲအောင်မြင်မှာပဲဒါကြောင့်ဒီနေ့ညတရားထိုင်တဲ့ခါမှာဘယ်လိုတရားထိုင်တာဘာမှသင်ပေးခြင်းတော့ဆိုကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိတ်တော်ကကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိတ်ဖြစ်စီအဲ့ဟာကိုပြန်တွေးစေချင်တာဒီနေ့မှာဘုံတော့လက်စေးတဲ့အခါဒါတော့ကဖြစ်လို့လက်စေးတာမဖြစ်လို့လည်းမရဘူးမစေးလို့လည်းမရဘူးအဲ့ဒါဒီနေ့ဘယ်နှကြိမ်လက်စေးခဲ့တော့လက်စေးခဲ့တဲ့အချိန်မှာဆိုရင်စိတ်လေးလားကြောက်စိတ်လေးလားအဲ့ဒါလေးကိုပြန်ကြည့်ပြီးတော့ကိုကရုဏာစိတ်လေးထားတနာတဲ့စိတ်လေးထားပါပြီးရင်တန်ရှင်းရေးခါတိုင်းတက်ပို့ပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုလုပ်တော့နောက်တခြားလူတွေနဲ့ဆက်ဆံတဲ့နေရာမှာ social distancing ခွာနေပြီးတော့ပြောတာဆိုတာနောက်နှာခေါင်းနဲ့ပါးစပ်ပိတ်တဲ့mask အတတ်ထားတာအဲ့ဒီအချိန်မှာဖြစ်တဲ့တောကတဲ့ anxiety အဲ့ဒါတွေကိုပြန်ပြီးအတိမတ်ပြုပါလိမရှိနဲ့အဲ့ဒါလေးကိုအတိမတ်ပြုလိုက်အတိမတ်ပြုတယ်ဆိုရင်ဒါကစိုးရိမ်တင်လို့စိုးရိမ်တဲ့ဟာအဲ့ဒီအနေနဲ့ပဲသူရှိနေတယ်ဂိုင်းတွဲလို့မရနိုင်တော့တဲ့အကြောင်းတရားအထိသူမဖြစ်တော့အကြောင်းတရားဖြစ်သွားတယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ subconscious mind ဆိုတာမသိစိတ်တဲ့ကိုဝင်သွားပြီးတော့တွေးတော့စင်ချင်ဉာဏ်တွေထိခိုက်သွားတယ်ဆုံးဖြတ်ချက်ပုံမှားနိုင်တယ် executive brain ဆိုတာအုံနောက်ထဲမှာကြောက်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်နဲ့အဲ့ executive brain ကတိတ်အလုံးမလုံးပါဘူးဒါကြောင့်ကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိုးရိမ်မှုတောကနဲ့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ကြောက်စိတ်အဲ့ဒါကိုပြန်တွေးပါကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိတ်ဖြစ်စီမှုအဲ့ဒါပြန်တွေးပါပြီးရင်ဒီဗုဒ္ဓတက္ကသိုလ်နေနဲ့ဆိုရင်ဒါဒီဗုဒ္ဓတက္ကသိုလ်မှာရှိတဲ့ department တွေစွမ်းစားကြောင်းပြီးတော့ဆောက်လုပ်ရေးပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာစာကြည့်တဲ့ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအုပ်ချုပ်ရေးပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာစာရှိသည့်ဖြင့်တင်ကြားရေးပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာရောကျောင်းသားကျောင်းသူတွေပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာရောဝန်ထမ်းတွေပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာရောကိုစီရှိကြတယ်တော့ကားတွေအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုပြန်ပြီးတော့တွေးပါအတိမပြုပါတတိတရားလေးနဲ့သွားပြီးတော့တွေးရင်ဒါကိုချင်းစာစိတ်ဖြစ်သွားပါလိမ့်မယ်ကိုချင်းစာစိတ်ဖြစ်တာနဲ့ ကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိုးရိမ်မှုကလည်းပဲနည်းသွားပါလိမ့်မယ်ငါတယောက်တည်းပဲဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့မသိစိတ်အကျင့်ကသူနည်းသွားလိမ့်မယ်ဒါကြောင့်နံပါတ်1ကကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိုးရိမ်စိတ်နဲ့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ကြောင့်စိတ်အဲ့ဒါတွေကိုပြန်တွေးပါဒီနေ့ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာမနေ့ကဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာဒီတစ်ပတ်ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာအရင်ပတ်ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာနောက်ပြီးရင်ကိုမိသားစုဖွဲ့ပဲသူတို့ရဲ့စိုးရိမ်စိတ်တွေကြောင့်စိတ်တွေအဲ့ဒါတွေတွေးပါအတိမပြုပါ appreciate လုပ်ပါနံပါတ်3ကြတော့ကိုအိမ်နီးနာခြင်းဒီနိုင်ငံထဲမှာကိုအိမ်နီးနာခြင်းသူတို့ anxiety တွေမိဘရဲ့ anxiety သားသမီးတွေ anxiety နောက်ပြီးအိမ်နီးနာခြင်းနိုင်ငံကိုယ်နိုင်ငံတစ်နိုင်ငံပဲလွတ်ပြီးတော့တခြားနိုင်ငံတွေ virus ကူးတာအဲ့ဒါမဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးသူတို့လည်းပဲလုံခြုံမှကိုယ်လည်းလုံခြုံမယ်ကိုယ်ကလုံခြုံမှသူတို့လည်းလုံခြုံမယ်အရန်ကိုအချင်းချင်းမိခိုးတယ်အချင်းချင်းဆက်ဆက်တွေများတယ် interdependence ခေါ်တယ်အကြောင်းအကျိုးနဲ့ဆက်ဆက်နေကြတယ်ပရိသတ်သမုပ္ပါဒ်တရားကိုအိန္ဒိယချင်းနိုင်ငံတွေသူတို့ရဲ့ပြဿနာကြောင့်ကိုဖတ်ထားတဲ့သတင်းတွေ Facebook ထဲနေဖတ်ထားတာလား internet ထဲလားသတင်းတွေမှာကြားတာလားအဲ့ဒါတော့ပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့သူတို့ရဲ့တောကတွေသူတို့ရဲ့ကြောက်စိတ်တွေအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုမျှဝေခံစားပေးပါမိခင်စိတ်နဲ့မိခင်ကသူ့ရဲ့တူရီလိုရင်သွေးကိုကြည့်တဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးအဲ့ဒီမျက်စိနဲ့ကြည့်ပေးပါအိန္ဒိယချင်းနိုင်ငံにမကောက်ကိုဖတ်ထားတဲ့သတင်းဥရောပတိုင်းအမေရိကတိုင်းအာဖရိကတိုင်းသူတို့ရဲ့ပြဿနာတွေလည်းကြည့်ပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့ကိုချင်းစားတဲ့စိတ်တော့သူတို့ရဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုသူဒုက္ခအကြောင်းတွေးပြီးတော့စာနာတဲ့စိတ်လေးမွေးဖွားပါလူတိုင်းကတဗ္ဗေဘာယံတိမစ္ဆုနောတည်ခြင်းတရားကိုကြောက်တဲ့လူတွေကြီးပဲအရိယာမဖြစ်သေးသေးဘုဒ္ဓဆင်များတည်ခြင်းတရားကိုကြောက်တာကြီးပဲဒီအကြောက်တရားကိုအခြေခံပြီးတော့ကရုဏာပွားမယ်ဒီအကြောင်းတရားအခြေခံပြီးတော့ကရုဏာပွားနိုင်တဲ့အခါမှာအဲ့ဒီကရုဏာပေါ်အခြေခံပြီးသီလတွေမြဲလာပါလိမ့်မယ်အသိဉာဏ်ပညာတွေဖြစ်ပွားလာလိမ့်မယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုသူတစ်ပါးရဲ့စိတ်ဖြစ်စီမှုသူတစ်ပါးရဲ့စိုးရိမ်မှုသူတစ်ပါးရဲ့ကြောက်စိတ်ကိုဆက်နိုင်တဲ့အခါကိုချင်းစားနေတဲ့အချိန်မှာကိုယ့်ရဲ့စိုးရိမ်စိတ်နဲ့ကြောက်စိတ်ကလျော့သွားပါလိမ့်မယ် inner strength ဆိုတာကိုယ့်ရဲ့အတွင်းအားကိုပြန်လဲပေါ်တွေ့ပြီလေဒါကြောင့်အခုတရားထိုင်ဖို့ချိန်ရောက်ပါပြီအိမ်မှာဒီတရားကိုနားနေတဲ့တရားနာပိသက်လဲအခုတရားထိုင်ပါနောက်ထပ်15မိနစ်လောက်တရားထိုင်ပါ short meditation is complete now. We can dedicate this meditation to the Triple Gems and to the liberation from suffering, especially this pandemic of the whole world. Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Padipadiya Buddham Bhuje Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Padipadiya Dhammam Bhuje Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Padipadiya Sangham Bhuje Adda Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Padipadiya Chadichara Vyadi Marangama Padimoje Sami Idang me punya Asawakaya Wahang Hodum Punyam Nipanasa Pacayo Hodum Punya akan Sabha Sadhana Dema Hajima Kuso Medina Miya Minam Hauka Sradaka Lai Sang Parmi Lai Sen Kampa Đăng sen đăng đông hai chêm bi chêm sang sát chêm côn quên ya sát đa hoàng nở sát đa hoàng la Ananda sát đa hoàng la thang sen khen trọc hôn hồn chung chung Sa thu anumodana Akuso on yi phình bên cánh sinh Sakam lôi ta no Sadhu 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 Dhanamya Siddhamya Bhavanamya Hao sao kha đăng sinh đăng lông Ya đô hồn đô ha Him âm lại Côn him âm lại Sát hòa him âm lại Yon phạt hằng vai Nơi mạc hồ trái hao ca Đồ đau hồ Tiyo sư sàm Nibbana Thi Cát Yên Sakam Lợi Đăng Sadhu 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 Vandami Bhante Sabhang Abharadan Khammai Dhammasami Bhante Maya Kadang Punyang Samina Anumoditapang Samina Kadang Punyang Mayang Thadapang Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Vandami Bhante สัพพิติยวิวัจจันตุสุขโรโควินัสตุมาเตภวันพันตรายาสุขิติกายุโกภวะภิวัตนังสิริสานิจังวุฒัมปจายโนจัตตารโอธรรมวัฏันติอายุวันโนสุขังภะลังAnyone has any question for this evening? Bởi mình khó thầm, cái thầm có lại về khuyên sĩ về này mà. สังฆมิตร
Good evening, Sayadaw. When I want to feel the anxiety in myself about this coronavirus, then I see it because the urgency of life, the impermanency of life, like the death anytime will happen, it is normal. Just the coronavirus more obviously. I mean, probably it could bring death, but the urgency of life, anytime we will die, it's common. It exists all the time. So for me, in facing this coronavirus, I feel that what I can do is how to prevent, because the life is precious, so how to prevent the way that we can prevent, so I will do that. But if that happens, it just happens, because the life is impermanent. Anytime we will die, it's normal, I feel. So, but then the life is precious, so we need to take care. And then, when I think about my family member, my country, people, and other neighbor country, like for example, I do not know why it comes to my mind when, let's say, every morning when I do my chanting, when I think about those people here in the coronavirus, the picture that in my mind is the people in the world. It doesn't come like my family member, but it is the whole picture of the living being in the world. So, see the fear in those people, or there are people, the death and the family member, it's very sad about that. So, that is how I see, but it's not like the family members, my family members come first. So it becomes like my family member and other people, other living beings that even though I do not know, or my friends in other country, they are the same. It's not like family member important first. It doesn't. It just comes to the mind is in this kind of picture. I do not know why I do not emphasize my family member first. Maybe I should, because they more close probably. And then when I see my friends, let's say in Thailand, and there's still some monks friends, they want so much to come back to Myanmar, but they couldn't because the flight is closed, no, so they couldn't come. They say if we can, we want to buy a ticket and come back immediately, but we can't. So when see their anxiety in outside the country, so I feel it's not different like my brother and sister at home. So how I advise them or to comfort them the same way I do to my family. So for me, they are no different. And what I think is, what if, let's say, what I'm worried about like my family members is, if let's say one of the family member get this virus, and if they die, other members cannot handle this sadness. That's why I'm worried. And I'm thinking, if I would die because of this virus, even after prevention, it's fine. And I'm thinking, how if we get this virus, after death, is that our organ system still can be used to donate to other people? Because earlier I have signed to contribute to share with others the organ part of the body after I die. Then I'm thinking, if I die because of this virus, is that my organ parts still can be used to donate to other people? And then in our country, when I see the news, the foreigner, because of this coronavirus, they have no job and they have no food because of no job. It's compared to native people, they have property, so they have saving account in Malaysia, it's fine. But for foreigner, because of the coronavirus last week, there's have the robbery in front of the bank because people have to draw money and buy food, the Malaysian people, and then foreigner do the robbery because of no job, no food. Then I'm thinking, well, how to help these people? Would our government to distribute at least one meal for them every day, those foreigners? So they are pity. And for Malaysian, we work and we will have EPF for the employee. So we have saving every month that the employer will keep for us. So, but then that you can draw only after 50 years old. So now the government would allow the people to draw the money, 500 ringgit every month to survive, rather than after 50 years old. Then thinking, that money for my family member, those even I put the name of my parents, if I die, for this will be their part. Rather than you didn't put anyone's name, it will go to the government. So, but then I think, if I die because of this virus, my family member, they do not need this money. They financially okay. So how would this money go to the people that would need? Well, that is what comes to my mind. Thank you.
Yeah. In all of those thoughts, the emphasis I give this evening is the ability to connect without anxiety, and to connect with the anxiety of everyone else. And the easiest one is the people we know. That could be our family, our best friends, our colleagues, like that. And if we remain connected, then we wouldn't feel lonely, isolated. We live in isolation. People are asked to self-isolate, to distance themselves from other people. But this ability to emotionally connect with other people is very important. Not just for ourselves, not to feel depressed, but also actually to boost our resilience so that we are in a position to help at least some people. Yeah. If there's no more question, comment, I'd like to start this evening to recite 3 stanzas from the Ratana Sutta, and tomorrow we will start the next 3 and the next 3 so that we complete the whole sutta when we can recite the whole sutta. The point of the Ratana Sutta is first, as the commentary tradition would tell us, Venerable Ananda, the Buddha, of course, and then the Venerable Ananda, they develop compassion for human being in Vaisali. With that compassion, Karunya Cittang Upatabetava, Diya Marating, for the whole night, Venerable Ananda took risks going around the infected areas. I don't think he had masks like us, and he had hand washes and this sort of thing. But the inner strength that he had was superb. His belief in the sacrifices and the achievements, like the enlightenments of the Buddha, the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, he believed in them totally. That's Buddhanusati. Buddha Gunang Avajetawa. That's Buddhanusati meditation. And with that, Diyamarating Paridang Karondo Ayasama Ananda Tiravya, he felt the pain of the people of Vaisali. Who were facing, this kind of endemic, many people dying and that sort of thing. So he felt that pain. Only after his compassion for human being, and then he asked the Devas to have compassion for the people. He shared his punya with the Deva, and then asked the Deva the celestial being, to feel compassion for human being. I would like to emphasize that compassion for our human being, for our neighbors who are here, is very important for the Ratana Sutta to work, to be effective. And the 3 stanzas that we will recite is Yanida Buddhani. That one, asking the Deva to have metta, to have loving kindness on the people. Before he did that, he had already had a lot of metta for the people himself. And asking them to listen to the Ratana Sutta. Then the second stanza we're going to recite is Yanginji Vidang Idawa Hurangwa. This stanza is about the Buddha. The whole Ratana Sutta has 3 stanzas about the Buddha, 2 stanzas about the Dhamma, and 7 stanzas about the Sangha. And today, the first stanza is the request for the Deva to have loving kindness on the people and protect them. And the second one, this Yangin Jividam, is to recollect how rare and precious is a Buddha. The jewel, the precious things in the human world, like money, gold, silvers, properties, all these things, we think they are very precious. But these things, they are everywhere. Gold, silver, they are everywhere. But Buddha Ratana is not everywhere. It doesn't happen every 1,000 years. It doesn't happen. Not even every 10,000 years. So there is no other jewel that is equal to the Buddha. This is the meaning of the stanza. So with this adhitthana, with this pronouncement of truth, we invoke the blessing on the people who are suffering. Of course, the whole world, 7.4 billion people, is important to have them in our mind. And the third one is Khayam Virakang Amadan. This is to say, there is no Dhamma that is equal to Nibbana. Nibbana is the highest Dhamma. And this is the truth about the Dhamma. Having pronounced this, we invoke the blessing on the whole world. May they be free from this coronavirus. So we are going to say 3 stanzas, and we can say 3 times. Venerable Ananda, he said this, he recited this the whole night, okay, going around the city. But we only do this for 3 times and 3 stanzas. 3 stanzas because the most venerable rector, Sayadaw Ven said, okay, at least do 3. Of course, the best is to do the whole sutta and to do as many times as possible, so that we become very concentrated. Yani da Buddhani Samagatani Bhumani wa Yani wa Andaleke Sabhewa Buddha Sumana Bhavantu Atobi Sakaja Sunandu Basitam Dasamahi Buddha Nisa Medha Sabhe Medham Karota Manusiya Bhajaya Divaja Rato Jaharandi Yebali Dasamahi Nerakata Abamata Yankinji Vidang Idawa Huramwa Sake Suwayang Ratanam Panidang Namo Samang Adhidatha Kadena Idambi Buddhe Ratanam Panidang Edena Sajena Suwati Hodum Kayang Virakang Amatang Panidang Yatha Chaka Sakya Muni Samahido Nat Enathamena Samadhi Kinji Dhammitame Ratanam Panidang Edena Sajena Suwati Hodum Yanida Buddhani Samakatani Bhumani Vayani Va Andaleke Sabhewa Buddha Sumana Bhavantu Atobi Sakaja Sunandu Bhasitang Dasamahi Buddha Nisa Medha Sabhe Amkarota Manusiya Bhajaya Divaja Rato Jaharandi Yepaling Dasamahi Nerakata Abhamata
ยังกินชีวิตังอิดาวาหุรังวาสักเกสุวายังรัตนังปณิตังนะโนสมังอธิตถาคเตนะอิทัมบิพุทเทรัตนังปณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัตถิโหตุขยังวิรากังอมตังปณิตังยถาจักขาสักขมุนีสมาหิโตนาเทนะธรรเมนะสมาธิกินจีอิทัมบิธรรเมรัตนังปณิตังเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัตถิโหตุยานิธาพุทธานิสมาเกธานิบุมานิวายานิวะอันตะเลเขสัพเพวะพุทธาสุมนาภวันตุอโทปิสักขจาสุนันตุภาสิตังทัสมาหิพุทธานิสัมเมธาสัพเพเมตตังคโรธามานุสิยาปจายาทิวาจารโตจาหารันติเยภเลทัสมาหิเนรคทะอัปปมัตถังยังกินชีวิตังอิดาวาหุรังวาสักเขสุวายังรัตนังปณิตังนะโนสมังอธิตถาคเตนะอิทัมบิพุทเทรัตนังปณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัตถิโหตุขยังวิรากังอมตังปณิตังยถาจักขาสักขมุนีสมาหิโตนะเทนะธรรเมนะสมาธิกินจีอิทัมบิธรรมเมรัตนังปณิตังเอเทนะสัจเจนะสุวัตถิโหตุสาธุสา